It's a dialogue between two camels, the baby camel with the mother camel. So the baby camel asks the mother camel, "Mom, why do we have these big horns on the back?" So mother camel says, "My dear child, because we are desert animal and we don't get water, so it serves a water storage system. So whenever we need water, it supplies water." Okay, I understand. Now tell me why we have the thick eyelashes. So just again for the same reason that because we're desert animal and then we have sandstorms, so it's a protective, it's a protection to the eyes. Okay, I understand. Tell me the last question. Why do we have these rounded hooves? So it's again for the same reason. To walk on the sand, it helps. Now the baby camel says to the mother camel that, "Mom, I understand we have big horns because we have to, it serves as a water storage system. We have thick eyelashes, it protects us from the sandstorm. We have rounded hooves, it serves again the purpose of walking on the sand. All these things I understand. But I don't understand one thing. What the hell are we doing in the zoo?" So this is our education system. When we talk about education, first question I ask myself, how I was educated in the schools, in the universities, in the colleges, and what purpose it served to me. When I ask this question to myself, I find a lot of problems with the system, that what the education system should have done to me, it didn't do. I had to work hard to raise myself. Like me, there are thousands who work hard to raise themselves, whereas the system becomes a hindrance at most of the times. What does this education system give us? I'll narrate you another story. What are we doing by creating a system which really doesn't serve the greater purpose of the education of life? There's a woodcutter. He goes cutting woods. And one day he was cutting a very small, thin tree. And a passerby, he was just observing it. Something fascinated. A tree which it would have taken only 10 to 15 minutes to fell it down, but he had to wait for 45 minutes to see the tree falling. So he goes and then he checks the axe with which he was cutting the tree. So he told this passerby, he asked this woodcutter, said that, "Why don't you sharpen your axe? You are cutting the tree with a blunt instrument. It takes much time. Why don't you sharpen it?" So the simple, straightforward answer from the woodcutter was, "Where is time? I have to cut woods." This is what we do. This is a story. We go on cutting trees or doing our work with blunt instruments. The purpose of education is to sharpen our instruments through which we learn. The knowledge has to manifest. If the knowledge, we have heard it many times by many educationists, many educational philosophers who have spoken it time and again, that education means to manifest the knowledge which lies within. But how does it manifest? It manifests through instruments. So does the education system take care of sharpening the instruments? This is where the question lies. how much time the education system or what kind of facility the system provides to educate the mind, educate the physical, educate the emotional, sensational being. These are the questions that we ask when we talk about education. And what role Sanskrit can play, and then what importance it has in this education system, and how depriving it from our education system or neglecting it, it has created some kind of gap in our education. So this is what I will throw some light on it. So let's have a look at what is the position of Sanskrit in the present education system. Many people, when you talk about Sanskrit, the usual idea is it's a difficult language, it's a dead language, it's a Hindu language, it's of no use, it has no job opportunities. So like this, many questions which are raised. But looking at the situation of Sanskrit in the present education system, if we see the data available, the kind of the result which came out of the investigation by the committee, the Sanskrit Commission, Gopal Swami Commission, which was set up to find out what is the position of Sanskrit. So there is a whole document of 32 pages which are available, which is available on the net, the vision and roadmap. So it lists out. So there are 1,000 Sanskrit Pathshalas. There are 5,000 Sanskrit schools where Sanskrit is taught in a traditional way. You have around 18 Sanskrit universities at present, as per the present situation. So in the document you will find 15 universities, so 3 more universities are done. So 18 Sanskrit universities focusing only on Sanskrit. Then you have many general universities, hundreds of universities which have got post-graduation departments offering Sanskrit. Many schools offer Sanskrit, many state board offer Sanskrit from class 1 to class 12. Somewhere it is third language, somewhere it is, most of the states following state boards, following the third language formula, they have Sanskrit as the third language. But the national boards like ICSE and CBSE, the Navodaya schools, so they don't follow the 3 language formula, the policy. And you have Sanskrit from class 6 onwards, somewhere class 1 onwards, and then in the class 11 and 12 it has no place almost. Then in South India there is another problem that you have Sanskrit on the higher classes, not on the lower classes. That's where you don't find many students in the graduation, post-graduation level. So there are many problems. Looking at the situation, the position of Sanskrit at present, so far as the school education is concerned, is poor in many states. To some extent it is good in some states, but very rarely you find in 4 or 5 states in India Sanskrit does good, like in Chhattisgarh, in Kerala, and in Delhi, in Jaipur. So 4 or 5 states where Sanskrit does good, but most of the states the situation of Sanskrit is not good at all. Many schools are getting closed. Then where lies the problem? The problem is how it was before the independence, or before the English education started, and how it is. Now before the education, the English education started, you had this motto that Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. The education, it was defined that it must liberate us from all kinds of limitations. by expanding our consciousness. That was the purpose of education which was set by the ancient Indian seers and sages. This is what was followed in the Gurukul system, that Vidya is for Vimukti. Now it is Vidya, it's a very popular saying among the Sanskrit people that Vidya is not Vimuktaye, but Vidya is a Niyuktaye. Niyukti means like jobs, opportunities that you find, engagements. So Sa Vidya Vimuktaye has become Sa Vidya Niyuktaye. So this is where you find this big gap. The problems are manifold, the Sanskrit education. The teachers are not there. Last year, I will share some of my own experience also dealing with Sanskrit, introducing Sanskrit at many schools, training the teachers. Last year we had advertised for 30 teachers. We had around 150 applications from various parts. When we interviewed, because our purpose was the Sanskrit has to be taught through the medium of Sanskrit. Now in most schools it happens that Sanskrit is taught through other medium, through English medium or through Hindi or through regional language medium. But the schools where we have introduced Sanskrit, and specifically we have adopted one school in Lucknow. So there we have introduced Sanskrit from 2003, where Sanskrit, it's perhaps the one school with ICSE board in the whole country, which is Sanskrit from play school up to class 8 compulsory. So every child coming there learns Sanskrit through the medium of Sanskrit. So anyone can visit that school and then find out and start communicating in Sanskrit with the children. So they will start conversing in Sanskrit. And it has made a big difference to the children. They're, sharpening their instruments, the confidence level, the clarity in speech, the way they converse, and the way they do good in all other subjects. Why? Sanskrit is taught through the Sanskrit medium, and the content delivery mechanism is very, very different from the traditional way of teaching Sanskrit in the schools. I'll share some of these things with you all. So then you know like what Sanskrit can do, what change, what transformation it can bring when it is taught properly for the purpose of that Vimukti. Vimukti means not moksha, but liberating ourselves from all limitations. So then my mind is not a narrow mind, is an expanded mind. Or my understanding is not a narrow understanding, but an expanded, wide understanding. So what happened? When you get 150, 200 applications and start interviewing, shortlisting, and you start asking them questions in Sanskrit, maximum of them, out of 10, 8 people are not able to converse in Sanskrit. They can converse in English, converse in Hindi or their regional languages, or English and Hindi, but not in Sanskrit. So that's a major problem, that when you try to find teachers who can teach through Sanskrit medium, you don't find. And there, it's not their fault. Again, the fault of the system where the language is taught through the medium of translation and grammar, where emphasis is more on translation method and the grammar method. So grammatical rules are taught, but not the language. So one knows many grammatical rules, how the structure happens, the Shabdaroop, Dhaturoop, so the rote learning system, but never has conversed. So you find so many people holding good certificates, but unable to speak for 10 minutes or few sentences in Sanskrit. All those who deal with this, they know the situation is very acute. So you don't get good teachers. Another thing is, like in most places, wherever you find a good teacher, many schools are not ready to pay good salary to the Sanskrit teachers. And I'll tell you that when we started this school, my only condition with the management was that all the Sanskrit teachers, good, well-trained Sanskrit teachers that we will bring to this school, the management should agree to pay them the same salary as they're paying to their mathematics teacher or other language teachers, and they agreed to it. So any teacher who gets an appointment in that school, if is good, well trained, and then can come, do this, teach this perfectly, effectively, he gets a very good salary. It cannot be compared with other school teachers. So that's the kind of thing. So in most of the schools, the Sanskrit teachers, even though they try, make effort from their side to teach it or bring some innovation in their teaching, but they're hardly paid anything for their purpose. So that's another reason why many people do not want to take the teaching job in Sanskrit. So this is one major reason that we don't get good amount of teachers. If Sanskrit, many schools are open nowadays to adopt Sanskrit from the primary level, but no one is ready to teach at the primary level for a low salary, or even though good salary is there, you don't get good teachers. So another important thing is Sanskrit is not taught at many places from the primary level, from the play school, from the LKG, UKG level. Sanskrit, in most schools you have from class 6 onwards or 5 onwards or 4 onwards. Wherever it is there in class 1, class 2, then another major problem which comes with this is the curriculum. When you look at the many state board textbooks I have seen, NCERT textbooks, you see, you don't find a good pedagogy, you don't find on what basis this curriculum is made. Again, you have the grammatical rules, it's all grammar based. So the students really get tired of this curriculum textbook that they don't want to opt for Sanskrit after some times. Or once it is over, they say, oh, we're relaxed, that there is no Sanskrit.